The Blue Blazers fall. May 23rd, 1999, Kemper Arena in Kansas City. The crowd buzzed with anticipation. Camera operators prepared their shots. And high in the rafters, Owen Hart hung in darkness, waiting for his cue. He'd tested the stunt hours earlier. It worked fine. Below him, the ring looked small, distant, like looking down from the roof of an 8-story building. His heavy cape shifted against his body. The shackle clicked, and it suddenly went dark. In the darkness, Owen dropped 78 feet of empty air. His body accelerated, falling. When the arena lights came back on, Owen was falling without any support. Then, his chest hit the top rope of the ring. The impact sounded like a car crash. His ribs shattered on contact. His body folded backward, spine bending the wrong way. He bounced once, violently, then collapsed into the ring. The crowd laughed. They thought it was part of the show. But backstage, wrestlers knew. Ring announcer Jerry Lawler sprinted from his table, his face white. Paramedics rushed in while cameras cut away. In the rafters, an empty cable swayed in the spotlight. Owen's chest had been crushed. Every breath filled his lungs with blood. Bones had punctured organs. Internal bleeding spread like spilled ink. He was loaded onto a stretcher, the blue mask still covering his face, and rushed to Truman Medical Center. The show continued anyway. Vince McMahon gave the order. Matches went on while Owen's body cooled in a hospital across town. When announcer Jim Ross finally told the audience what happened, his voice shattered. Owen Hart has died. Later, investigators would find the truth. The quick release was designed for sailboats, not humans. The rigging team wasn't the usual crew. Owen had told his wife the night before he felt uneasy about the stunt, but none of that mattered anymore. Owen Hart had 2 children, a 7-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. They would grow up without their father, and 18,000 people would close their eyes at night and see a man in a cape falling through spotlights over and over again. Let's salute Owen Hart and other such wrestlers who sacrifice everything so we can be entertained. The shower in Puerto Rico. July 16, 1988. The locker room in Bayamon, Puerto Rico smelled like sweat and blood. Wrestlers prepared for another night, taping wrists, going over finishes, the usual routine. But you're probably wondering what happened next. Frank Goodish stood 6 feet 8 inches and weighed 300 pounds. To fans, he was Bruiser Brody, a wild-haired madman with a chain and a taste for violence. But backstage, Frank was quiet, thoughtful, a father who carried a photo of his 7-year-old son everywhere. That night, Jose Gonzalez approached him. Gonzalez wrestled as Invader 1. He was also the booker, which meant he controlled who won and who lost. He and Frank had history, bad blood. Years earlier, Gonzalez had told another wrestler, "One day I'm going to kill that man." And recently, Frank had been talking about buying into the promotion, a move that would cost Gonzalez his power. Tonight was that day. "Can I talk to you for a minute, please?" Gonzalez said. Frank followed him toward the showers. Tony Atlas watched them go. Something felt wrong. Minutes earlier, Gonzalez had been in an urgent meeting with the other promoters. Whispered. Tense. The shower room was empty. Tiles grimming. Air damped and close. Gonzalez stood there holding a towel in his right hand. He pulled a knife from beneath it and drove the blade into Frank's stomach. Once. Twice. Steel punched through skin, through muscle, into his lung. Frank staggered backward. "Brother, I'm hurt," he gasped. "Don't let them hurt me anymore." Blood poured from the wounds. Air bubbles escaped from the hole in his chest with each breath, a whistling sound that meant the blade had punctured his lung. "Jose stabbed Brody!" someone screamed. Wrestlers rushed in. They found Frank bent over, clutching the wound, blood spreading across the tile in dark pools. He was still conscious, still holding something, a photograph of his son. Then he collapsed against the wall and waited. For 40 minutes, Bruiser Brody bled on that shower floor while the show continued outside. Music blared, crowds cheered, bodies slammed into canvas. When the ambulance finally arrived, paramedics couldn't lift him. He was too big. Tony Atlas, with tears streaming down his face, carried his friend up the stairs himself. "Take care of my boy," Frank whispered in the ambulance. Frank survived the night, barely. Surgeons operated for hours, but his lung was shredded, blood loss too severe. By the morning of July 17th, he was dead, 42 years old. Jose Gonzalez was arrested and charged with murder, but key witnesses like Atlas and Dutch Mantel received court summonses only after the trial ended. The knife was never found. Gonzalez claimed self-defense. On January 23, 1989, he was acquitted. 1 year later, he was promoted as a wrestling hero. 2 years later, he reenacted the stabbing as a storyline, with another wrestler playing the victim, laughing, performing. Justice failed. A killer walked, and a 7-year-old boy grew up without his father because a knife hidden in a towel. The toothbrush. November 13, 2005, Minneapolis. Eddie Guerrero woke up that Sunday morning feeling good. Better than good. At 38, he was 4 years sober, marriage restored, faith renewed. He'd beaten his demons and come back stronger. Latino Heat was one of WWE's biggest stars. That night, he was scheduled to compete for the World Heavyweight Championship. His nephew Chavo was meeting him for breakfast at 7 a.m. Eddie walked into the bathroom, picked up his toothbrush, turned on the water. What Eddie didn't know was that years of steroid abuse had damaged his heart. His arteries had hardened, narrowed. His enlarged organs demanded more oxygen than his blood vessels could deliver. A ticking time bomb in his chest. The phone rang, 7 a.m. wake-up call. No answer. Chavo called the room. No answer. He knocked on the door. Silence. By 7:30, hotel security forced the door open. Eddie was lying face down on the bathroom floor, the toothbrush still in his mouth, water running in the sink. His heart had stopped. Just like that, mid-brush, Eddie was dead. Chavo dropped to his knees, screaming his uncle's name, shaking his shoulders. But Eddie's skin was already cold. Paramedics arrived, performed CPR, checked vitals, tried to restart a heart that had simply given out. At 38 years old, Eddie Guerrero died brushing his teeth. Word spread through the hotel. Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Dean Malenko returned to that room later, standing where their friend had fallen, unable to speak. That night's show became a tribute. Wrestlers broke down on camera. Benoit could barely get the words out. "I love you," he whispered. Less than 2 years later, Benoit would be dead too. His brain destroyed by damage and grief. The autopsy was cold, clinical, arteriosclerotic heart disease. His blood vessels strangled his heart. The damage was irreversible, just a matter of time. Eddie left behind his wife Vicky and 3 daughters, Shawl, 14, Sherilyn, 9, Kaylee Marie, 3. He'd climbed back from the edge, 4 years clean, faith restored, future bright. And his heart gave out while he brushed his teeth in a hotel room, alone, the sink water running into an empty drain. Professional wrestling promises glory, but the cost is brutal. When watching wrestling next time, remember the prize and the men who never made it home. Be good to everyone around you. Honor those who gave everything. Stay safe and have a good day.